as milk monitor, I chose Amy. It was the happiest stretch of my elementary career and a definite turning point in my no-frills childhood. My reveling, however, took a nosedive at the end of our first week as best friends when Amy asked, "Do you want to come to my house after school today and play Barbies?" "Barbies?" I repeated, feeling the walls of our brief Camelot crumble. My mother had unbendable views on Barbie dolls. She said Barbies were unrealistic in proportions, unsavory as role models, and an unnecessary waste of a young girl's leisure time. I rarely was allowed to play with other girls once my mother found out they owned Barbies. Girls who came to my house were expected to play hopscotch. "I don't have any Barbies," I said. "That's okay, you can play with mine. I have 8, Amy said, and 2 Kens. My stomach melted. 8 Barbies. 2 Kens. "Amélie Jeannette," I tried to appeal to something deeper in her than even I understood. "I have to tell you something." This part of the story is where Amy shines best. She listened, eyes unblinking, as I explained my mother's ban on all things Barbie and her indictment against Ken dolls. Amy slid her arm around my shoulder. "Leave it to me, Lisa. Your mother will never know." "But I will," I said, suffering from a strong sense of right and wrong. "I'll know about the Barbies at your house, and the Kens." "Not if I never take them out of the closet." "What do you mean?" With a flip of her ponytail, she said, "Whenever you come over, I'll leave them in the closet." "Amy, are you saying you would give up Barbies for me?" She nodded. I blinked almost as fast as a hummingbird's wings and told Amy I had something in my eye. I wasn't used to crying, but then no other girl had ever been willing to give up Barbies for me. True to her word, Amy never pulled her Barbies or her Kens out of the closet when I went over to her house, not even once. I made it through childhood without defying my mother. I saved that delicacy for adulthood. All Amy asked in return was for a few promises. Some of the promises were sweet, like agreeing to be each other's bridesmaid. Some were silly, like always reading the same Nancy Drew book at the same time and never reading a chapter ahead. One promise was ridiculous, but I agreed to it anyway. Amy wanted us to go to Paris when we grew up. She said she wanted to stroll down some boulevard called the Champs-Élysées wearing high-heeled shoes and sunglasses. She said that would prove we were stylish. I could use all the style lessons I could get, so I willingly agreed to go with her. That was before we had a falling out in high school and went our separate ways. We didn't talk to each other for 8 years. Such a thing never should have happened to two friends such as we, but that's what happened. During our separation, I formed my own opinions of Amy's beloved France. I came to the conclusion that I never would go to Paris, not even with Amy, not even because I promised her I would. However, I'm beginning to believe that every promise can be heard in the celestial courts, which gives every promise the potential of becoming something of eternal significance. I don't know how it works. I don't know if God really was listening to the forever friends promises Amy and I made under the ruffles of her canopy bed when we were young. All I know is that Amy's and my childhood promises were unexpectedly called back into play on a rainy autumn afternoon in the emergency room of Cincinnati General Hospital. It all started with a not-so-simple ooh la la. Chapter 1. The first time Amy made me promise we would go to Paris was on a sultry summer night when we were 11. A noisy metal fan balanced atop a stack of books on Amy's vanity table provided the only movement in her bedroom. The two of us had positioned ourselves belly down at the end of her princess bed, chins resting on our folded hands. Facing the fan, we looked at ourselves in all 3 sides of the vanity mirror. We liked looking in the mirror and making faces at ourselves and at each other. This particular night, however, was too hot to be silly. Amy switched to a different form of entertainment, thinking up things for me to promise her I would do. "You have to swear something to me, Lisa," she said with her dramatic Amy flair. "You have to swear to me that we will always be best friends, no matter what." "I'm not allowed to swear," I said. "Then promise it. Promise me we'll always be best friends. I promise. And promise me you'll be in my wedding and I'll be in yours. Okay, I promise. I liked the idea of being Amy's maid of honor. I knew she would have an all-pink wedding, and there was a good chance I'd wear a very fancy dress. Now promise me you'll be there, right beside me, when I give birth to my first child. Why on earth would I want to do that? You don't have to watch or help or anything, Lisa. I just want you to be there. Promise me you'll be there. Her expression reflected in the mirror made it clear she wasn't kidding about any of this. Okay, I'll be there for you, Amy. I promise. Okay, good. Flipping over onto her back, Amy reached for the ruffled eyelet of the canopy with her pointed toe. Earlier that evening, we had painted our toes with frosted cotton candy nail polish. I noticed that Amy's toes looked pinker and frostier than mine, so I went for the bottle on the vanity to apply another coat. Keeping up with Amy tended to take extra effort. If my first baby is a boy, I'm going to name him Davy, Amy said in her dreamiest voice. This was no surprise, since Amy's closet door was covered with a collection of monkey fan pictures torn out of her Tiger Beat magazines. In the center of the collage was the cover of her mother's TV guide, embellished with a red heart around Davy Jones's grinning face. Davy's a nice name, I said agreeably. Amy already knew that Peter was my favorite monkey, so it wouldn't be of any value to bring up that topic again. 90% of the reason I cast my crush vote for Peter was because every other girl at school thought Davy was the cutest. Those were the same girls who had pink vinyl carrying cases for their Barbies. Who do you think you and I will end up marrying? Amy asked. Beats me. I'm thinking we'll find men who are smart and rich and maybe famous. I grinned. I thought you would say they would be French. Of course they'll be French. Outside, a souped-up car rumbled loudly, leaving behind a puffy gasp of leaded gasoline that rose silently and slipped through the second-story bedroom window to our pristine hideaway. I coughed involuntarily. Anything that had to do with the dirtiness of cars made me cough. Unless, of course, I marry Davy Jones, Amy said. Then maybe we'll just live in France. I gave Amy one of my "oh, brother" looks over the top of my glasses. It could happen. Of course, you do know, Lisa, that before either of us has babies or gets married, we must go to Paris. Why? I held up my foot in front of the fan in what I'm sure was a rather unladylike pose. We have to go to Paris to show we have style. We'll buy high-heeled shoes and sunglasses and parade down the Champs-Élysées like refined and sophisticated women. When we come home, everyone will think you and I are the classiest young ladies in all of Memphis. Amy seemed to have forgotten that I was the daughter of Tommy Croker, as in Tommy Croker Deluxe Car Wash on Downing Street in Elm. I didn't come from a family known for style or sophistication. As a matter of fact, my father was known for his strangely twisted, self-deprecating humor. Instead of minimizing that our last name was pronounced Croker, he plopped his face on the 10-foot-tall caricature of a bullfrog and turned Tommy Croker's Car Wash into one of the most memorable sights in Memphis, before Graceland opened its gates to visitors, that is. I won't begin to recite all the taunts I heard while growing up. Kermit the Frog had not yet made his celebrity debut, and no one yet understood how it isn't easy being green. By the age of 6, I was convinced there was nothing positive about being a croaker, especially when you're the only female croaker and forbidden to kick or slug or bite, even though you knew you would be pretty good at it if given the chance. Amy all but dispelled the croaker curse that night when she talked about how going to Paris would make me classy and refined. That small seed of hope tucked itself into my spirit and stayed with me for many years before it sprouted. I look back now and realize that the gift of a true friend is that she sees you not the way you see yourself or the way others see you. A true friend sees who you are inside and who you can become. That's what Amy did for me during those precarious pre-teen years. She showed me what a beautiful and feminine thing it was to carry around a dream with you. According to Grand-mère, Amy said, "Hope is the most versatile and sparkling of all accessories, and can be worn by any woman, regardless of her age." catching my contorted position in the vanity mirror.